The first thing I saw was my suitcase. Not inside the house, not by the door like someone had just set it down. No, it was sitting outside on the porch. Closed, zipped, perfectly packed. My heart dropped into my stomach as I stood there at the gate of my own son's backyard. The late afternoon sun was hitting the porch steps, and that old blue suitcase looked almost like it was waiting for a bus. Waiting for me to take it and leave. For a few seconds I just stood there, frozen, gripping the handle of the grocery bag in my hand. I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Daniel had moved things around while cleaning. Maybe my daughter-in-law, Lisa, had packed it for a trip I forgot about. But then, I noticed something else. My coat was folded on top of the suitcase, and my house keys were sitting right beside it. That's when the cold realization started creeping into my chest. Someone had packed my things, and they wanted me gone. I slowly pushed the gate open and walked toward the porch like I was stepping into someone else's life. 3 months earlier, I had moved into my son Daniel's house after selling my home. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, just temporary. "Stay with us for a while, Mom," Daniel had said with a warm smile. "You shouldn't be alone after Dad passed." Daniel was my only child. I raised him mostly by myself because his father worked long hours driving trucks across the country. When Daniel was 6 years old, I used to wake up at 5 in the morning to make him pancakes before school. When he was 14, I worked double shifts at the hospital so he could go on a school trip to Washington, D.C. And when he got accepted into college, I cried the entire night. Not because he was leaving, but because I was proud. Every sacrifice I made felt worth it when I saw him succeed. He built a good life. A beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood. A successful job in real estate. A wife named Lisa, and 2 little kids who called me Grandma with sticky hands and bright smiles. When Daniel suggested I move in after my husband died, I thought maybe life was giving me something back. A house full of laughter. Family dinners. Grandkids running through the hallways. I told myself I wasn't a burden. I helped around the house. I cooked dinner 3 nights a week. I picked the kids up from school when Lisa was busy. Sometimes Daniel would hug me and say, "Mom, we couldn't do this without you." Those moments meant everything. But slowly, things started to feel different. At first it was small things, little comments, little looks. One evening while I was washing dishes, I heard Lisa talking in the living room on the phone. She didn't know I could hear her. "Yeah, she's still here," Lisa sighed. A pause. Then she said quietly, "I thought it would be temporary." My hands stopped moving in the sink. I told myself not to overthink it. Living together can be stressful. Everyone needs space. But after that night, I started noticing more. Lisa began locking the bedroom door whenever she left the house. She stopped asking if I wanted to join family outings. Sometimes when I walked into the room, conversations would suddenly stop. Daniel. He started acting different too. Less eye contact. Shorter conversations. One night during dinner, Lisa joked in a half-laughing voice, "Daniel, maybe we should turn the guest room into an office again." Daniel didn't laugh. He just stared at his plate. That silence felt louder than any argument. Still, I kept telling myself everything was fine. Families go through phases. Maybe I was just being sensitive. Then one afternoon I overheard something that made my chest tighten. Lisa and Daniel were in the kitchen, whispering. I wasn't trying to listen, but their voices carried down the hallway. Lisa said, "We can't keep living like this." Daniel replied, "She's my mother." "I know," Lisa said, "but she's here all the time." Daniel didn't answer. That silence again. The kind of silence that says more than words. A week later, Lisa started making strange comments. "Retirement communities can be really nice. My coworker's mom lives in one and she loves it." At first I thought she was just making conversation. But then she started leaving brochures on the kitchen counter. Bright, smiling seniors playing bingo. swimming pools, group yoga classes. One brochure had a headline that said, "Independent living for active adults 65 plus." I never mentioned it. I just quietly moved the brochures into the drawer. But something inside me had started to break. Then came the day that confirmed everything. Daniel and Lisa were arguing in the garage. I had stepped outside to water the plants. I heard Lisa's voice, sharp and frustrated. "You promised this wasn't forever." Daniel sounded tired. "I know. We can't raise our kids like this," she continued. "Like what?" Daniel asked. "Like we're running a nursing home." Those words felt like a knife sliding slowly into my chest. A nursing home. That's what I had become in my own son's house. A problem. A burden. A situation to fix. That night I didn't sleep. I laid awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every memory. Daniel as a little boy holding my hand crossing the street. Daniel crying after his first heartbreak. Daniel hugging me at his wedding. Somewhere between those moments and now, something had changed. But even after hearing all that, I still didn't think they would do what they did. Which brings me back to the porch. The suitcase. My coat. My keys. I slowly walked up the steps and touched the handle of the suitcase. It was heavy, packed carefully. Whoever did it had taken their time. My sweaters. My photos. Even the small jewelry box my husband gave me years ago. Everything was inside. Just then the back door opened. Lisa stepped out. She froze when she saw me standing there. For a moment we just stared at each other. Then she sighed. Not nervous. Not guilty. Just tired. "Oh," she said, "you're back." Back. Like I had just returned from the grocery store, like nothing was strange about the suitcase sitting on the porch. My voice shook. "What is this?" Lisa crossed her arms. "We thought it would be easier this way. Easier." I felt something hot burning behind my eyes. "Where is Daniel?" I asked. "He's at work." Of course he was. I nodded slowly. "So you packed my things?" Lisa shrugged slightly. "You heard us talking about retirement communities. I figured you understood." Understood. I looked at my suitcase again. Then back at her. "You didn't even tell me." Lisa's voice hardened. "This house isn't big enough for everyone forever." Those words echoed in my head. For everyone forever. 32 years of motherhood. Reduced to an inconvenience. Right then, something inside me changed. The sadness. The confusion. It all turned into something else. Clarity. Because Lisa didn't know something. Something Daniel didn't know either. When I sold my house 3 months earlier, I didn't give the money to Daniel. But Daniel believed I had. He believed I helped him pay off the mortgage. That's what he told everyone. But the truth was different. The money from selling my house was still sitting in my bank account. Every dollar. Because I had been waiting to see if my son wanted me, or just the help I provided. So I picked up my suitcase. Not slowly, not sadly, but calmly. Lisa looked slightly surprised. "Where are you going?" she asked. I looked her straight in the eyes. "Don't worry about it." And then I walked down the porch steps. For the first time in weeks, I felt something strange. Peace. 2 weeks later, Daniel called me. 23 missed calls. 7 voicemails. The last message sounded panicked. "Mom, the bank says the mortgage payment bounced. I thought you transferred the money." I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I called him back. His voice sounded rushed. "Mom, something's wrong with the bank transfer." I kept my voice calm. "What transfer?" "The house payment," he said. "The one from your house sale." There was a long pause. Then I said something that changed everything. "Daniel, I never paid your mortgage." Silence. Complete silence. Finally, he whispered, "What?" "I sold my house," I said slowly. "But I never promised you the money." "But you moved in with us." "Yes," I said. "Because you said you wanted me there." Another long silence. Then Daniel said the words that confirmed what I already knew. "But we were counting on that money." Exactly. Counting on it. Not on me. On the money. I took a slow breath. You won't need to worry about it anymore. What do you mean? He asked. I bought a small house last week. Another silence. Then his voice cracked slightly. You moved? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I thought about the suitcase on the porch, my keys left outside like I was a stranger, and I gave him the most honest answer I had. Because you already told me everything I needed to know. 6 months later, I heard through a neighbor that Daniel and Lisa had to sell the house. The mortgage was too much without help. They moved into a smaller place across town. We don't talk much anymore. Sometimes Daniel sends a short text on holidays. Happy Mother's Day. Merry Christmas. I always reply politely. But something between us is gone. Not anger, not revenge, just distance. But here's the strange part. In my new house, I'm happy. I planted flowers in the front yard. I joined a small book club down the street. And sometimes my grandkids visit. When they hug me goodbye, they still say, "Love you, Grandma." And I always smile, because even though my son forgot something important, I didn't. Respect. Once it's packed into a suitcase and left on the porch, you don't unpack it again.